Are there concerns about, is there a danger with having a permanent conservatorship as we now have?
I do, and I think that Senator Tester's questioning starts to get at some of those various concerns. I mean, before conservatorship, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were these odd institutions. They weren't government agencies, but they weren't fully public, right? They weren't fully they weren't fully private firms, and they often sort of operated in this sort of gray area in between. Being in conservatorship is actually continuing that weird place between being a government agency and being a truly private firm. We've got the taxpayers even more explicitly on the hook here.
And I've offered a piece of legislation to deal with these two organizations, and I've offered it in a way to actually try to solve the problem and hope to bring some bipartisan support towards that end. And to really backfill, in other words, as Fannie and Freddie decline in the amount of percentage that they have of mortgage originations in the country and guarantees, that we backfill that with the private sector.
But I would think that over the course of a few years, we should be able to start making meaningful progress to seeing the enterprise's imprint on the marketplace be able to recede without causing major disruption in the market.
And so do you think if we had a wind down of, say, a 10-year period, would that be something reasonable to look at?
That would certainly seem plenty gradual to me, Senator.
We've looked at limiting the amount that the federal government guarantees on the mortgages, not by the loan limit, but by saying 90% of the mortgage itself will be guaranteed 80%. That way you have some market signals. You can tell the difference in pricing between what the government's guaranteeing and what it's not. We can get a good indication of how the private sector is responding. Does that seem like a reasonable approach to look at how we might unwind Fannie and Freddie?
It certainly is a reasonable approach, Senator. In fact, it's one that is not dissimilar from one I mentioned in a speech a couple of months ago, where I said that I was looking to gradually increase the enterprise's risk sharing with the private sector so that some of the mortgage credit risk that Fannie and Freddie are taking on board today and the taxpayers backing, if we can't find some way of gradually putting some of that on private capital. So I believe your approach is well consistent with that thought process.